So you got a new espresso machine and you don't know where to begin. Or you've had an espresso machine and you're lost on dialing in a new coffee. Or you just don't really know how to dial in and you've just been winging it this whole time, but your friend's been coming over and they've been making fun of you and now you're just so upset by everything that you just want a little help. Well, today, I'm gonna give you that help. What is this? What's up, everyone? My name is Lance Hedrick, and today we're going to be dialing in a mystery coffee. So I've got my Gotcha Classic Pro for my espresso machine. I don't know what you have, but it's probably awesome. I've got my Turin SD40 for my grinder, and I've got videos for both of these that I'll post up here somewhere at some point while you're watching, probably now and now. I have those. I've got my scale, which I'm using an Acaia lunar scale. Do not feel the need to go and shell out the big bucks for one of those. Any scale will do as long as it hits them Grammies. That's all we want are the grams, all right? You can buy a $10 one online, go to a local kitchen store, whatever it might be. Just do not come at me with volumetrics. If you are using volumetrics to dial in your espresso, just please don't, okay? Just this is what I want you to do with your volumetrics. Take it and get it out of here, okay? So we've got rid of volumetrics. We have our scale, we have our grinder, we have our espresso machine. Now we need the coffee. So today I have Hugo, my videographer, who loves me just so much, pick out a coffee, and I'm sure it's gonna be delicious. It's probably something, golly. Well, here's the coffee. So let's go ahead and just find out what the coffee is that I'll be dialing in today. It's not labeled. I'm gonna take out my knife, and we're gonna just, let's take a little look-see. Let's give me today. Who wants to kill me? What is this? What is this? Oh my goodness. There are more Quakers in here than in 1700s America. Wow. That is, okay, well, we have what we have, and I'm going to dial it in. So this is a dark roasted coffee, as you can see once I dump some out. And then you also have a lot of other stuff in it. So I'll probably sort a little bit. Actually, no, for this video we won't sort. I do have a video on what you should sort out that I linked right there. As you can see, there are some like really light beans that are in here. You want to take those bad boys out. But for this video, I'm not going to spend time doing that because this is a quick guide. So first thing I do when I'm dialing in a new coffee is I take into consideration roast level. So this is a very basic level. So just look at it and make your best estimation. Is it dark? Does it look like this or have some oils on it? If so, that's broadly dark. If it's not dark, but it's also not really light, if you've seen a light coffee, and we're going to call that medium. And then we have light coffee, which is a very lightly colored coffee. It's not been roasted that long, or not nearly as long as something like this has. So we have these three components: dark, medium, light. Again, they're not super helpful categories because they're so subjective, but we're going to work with it because we're talking across a camera. So that's what we're going to go with. So on dark, what I always like to start with is to get kind of into a golden zone, and then I'll make more fine tweaks of a 1-to-2 ratio. That means if I put 20 grams in my basket, I want 40 grams on the scale, all right, of espresso yield. Now, if we do medium, then I'm going to do around a 1-to-2.5 ratio. So 20 grams in, 50 grams out. If I'm doing a light roast, 20 grams in, 60 grams out. Now, these are not the real numbers. We could do 15 grams or 17 grams or whatever it might be, and then you just multiply it by that corresponding number. But this, I would say, is a dark roasted coffee. It's quite dark. Some of them have oils surfacing. If this were to rest another couple days, I'm sure they would be fully surfaced in oils, except for the Quakers that are defects. So anyway, first thing I'm going to do, now that I have in mind, I'm going to shoot for a 1-to-2 in around 25 to 30 seconds. How do we actually get there? First thing, I'm going to check where my grinder is set at, what grind size, roughly. I'm going to start it, and I'm just going to sprinkle in a couple of beans. I don't want to waste a whole dose, put it in, and for the machine to tell me it's way too coarse or way too fine. You can do that with a visual inspection. So what I'm going to do is dump these in my hand. These grounds are in my hand now, and I'm going to check. This is just this is actually pretty close on my first try. All right, so this is, there's still a little grit. I'm gonna put my fingers by the microphone so you can kind of hear the grit. If you rub it and there's kind of a gritty sound to it, kind of like sand, like this. If you have that gritty sound, you need to go just a little bit finer. Ideally, what you're wanting is for it to be powdery, okay? So it needs to be a bit powdery, and it needs to be able to hold your fingerprint. So when you pinch it, you can actually kind of see the line. So I'm gonna go a little finer here. I'm gonna put it in there, and then here we go. All right, let's check this out. There we go, it's definitely much more powdery. Some of that grit, there's going to be a little bit of that grittiness, but this is actually feeling a lot better, and it is holding that fingerprint. There we go. Here, we'll get a close-up of that. Here, let's get it. Don't steal my identity. As you can see, where I compressed it, you can see little lines from my fingerprint. So this is not your end grind setting. It might be. You might be lucky. Maybe the coffee you're using works perfectly here. But that is to get us in the range so that we don't have like an 8-second gusher or a 70-second long shot to get any drips into the cup. So what I'm going to do now is I will weigh out my dose. We're going to grind it up, and we're going to distribute the coffee, and we're going to pull a shot, see how it goes. So let's do that. Now that my coffee is ground, I'm going to grab the portafilter. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe out the basket. As it's sitting there, moisture is going to collect on the inside. We don't want it to be wet on the inside. That can affect the extraction. So wipe that out with whatever rag you have for your portafilter. We're going to just set that on top of the machine. There we go. Now I'm going to take my dose. I'm just going to get it into the basket. Now here is the most important part of your extraction. Your puck preparation. Now, some people, you might see that and go, yeah, it's fine. Let's just tamp it in there. Good to go. We're putting pressure on it. Then it shouldn't matter what the grounds are doing inside. No, it does matter, and it matters very much. We don't want channeling. I'm not going to go much into that here, but you can check out my espresso tutorials right here. But anyway, what we need to do is figure out a way to get this as evenly compacted into that basket as possible. Now, what I'm going to suggest that you all do at home, unless you already have tools to do something else, is to just tap. I would not rely on any sort of leveling device. I would just tap. This is going to give you the most consistent puck preparation that you can have. Outside of course, if you use your finger or something like that, you're just distributing kind of the top, not the bottom. This is going to help kind of shake everything in place. But of course, as you see here, we have clumps from the grinder. And that's why something like a WD-T tool is very important and very helpful. I will not use it today just because I'm going to assume that a lot of you watching this don't have these tools. And if you want to get into them, here's a video that I did recently on that. But we have this nice leveled out. Now we're going to tamp it. I'm using this tamper. It's self-leveling. Okay, and you're just going to apply enough pressure to where you can't push it anymore. So you're pushing until it pushes back at you. Once you're at that, you've fully compressed the puck. Do not take it. Don't think to yourself, oh, the shot's running fast. I need to tamp harder. That's not a thing. Tamp with sufficient force, and you're done. There's nothing else you should do with the tamp. Always tamp until it pushes back at you. Easy peasy. Don't overthink tamping. Tamping should be level and until it's pushing back to you. Now we have our puck all tamped and ready to go. All right. Now I'm going to put it in the machine. Lock that nice and tight. You want that rubber gasket nice and tight against the basket. We need to form essentially a vacuum in there. We can't let anything come out because once it's under pressure, you don't want that seal to break. We need all the pressure going through the puck. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to put my scale underneath so I can measure the amount of yield. And then I need a cup to fit under there. None of my cups fit, except for one that I have to make a brief apology to. I'm so sorry for throwing you and for undervaluing you. You are helpful, you are beautiful, and you are going to catch this espresso that I will subsequently drink and decide if we need to make any changes. Okay. All right. So we put that underneath. I'm going to tear the scale. I'm going to start my shot and start my clock at the same time. So now all we're going to do is we're going to watch the shot come out. So we're at about 5 seconds, 6 seconds. We're watching. Normally the first drop should come out by now. So already I know that I'm too fine. All right. So usually before 10 to 12 seconds, your first drops should come out. So this is telling me I am too fine of a grind setting. It's still not coming out. This means I'm really fine. So we have a problem there. I'm going to go ahead and coarsen the grind size up. This actually makes sense. With really darkly roasted coffees, you actually want them a little bit more coarsely ground than lighter roasted coffees. They have a lot more puck integrity. It's coming out now. They have a lot more puck integrity than lighter roasted coffees. And so it's going to be a bit harder for water to get through it and because the grounds just want to absorb the water. So I'm watching. It's really slow. We're at 45 seconds and only 4 grams out. So I'm just going to let it run its course and have a good idea on how long it takes to hit that 36 gram mark. Okay, so to hit 36 grams, it took us about 2 minutes. We are way too fine, and this just goes to show you I don't ever brew coffees this dark. That's problematic. With a lighter roasted coffee, this grind size probably would have worked just fine. With really dark coffees, you go coarser because they absorb a lot more water. It's a little bit harder for water to make it through. But this is likely disgusting. But one thing I always tell baristas when I'm training them is you taste all the shots that you pull so that you understand why you don't pull a 2-minute shot. So if you're at home, you pull a 2-minute shot, pour it into a cup and drink it with me. All right, we got the espresso. Now, bon appetit down the hatch. Actually, it's really not that bad. Well, for what it is. It's bad in the sense that my mouth is screaming at me that, why are you doing this? You probably noticed in that shot that a lot of the time it was coming out of one spout of the two. Now, a misconception is, oh, that means it's pulling out one side of the puck more than the other. That's not true, because think about it. Inside the split, they're both coming out of a single hole, and then it splits. It's just how gravity works. So if the first drop goes to the left and the flow is so low that it's not going to cover the whole hole that it's coming out of, well, then it's going to continue to favor that side until the flow increases enough to break that bond that those viscous oils have going out of one stream to go out of the second one. It's not that big of a deal. It's not saying that's an uneven extraction. It could be one, but I'm just saying that is not a signifier of uneven extractions. You could have a beautifully even extraction, but they could just be split unfairly. That's actually why I don't like split portafilters, because it does that all the time. No 2 shots ever really taste the same. So I like to pull them into the same cup like I did then. Anyway, let's go ahead, grind some more coffee, go round 2. Because that last shot was so slow, I'm going to coarsen the grind size quite drastically to around that 4 number mark. Now, the reason I'm going this direction, making it more coarse or bigger particles, is to increase the space between them so the water flows more quickly and freely through the grounds. And the corollary holds true. If it was going too fast and was really watery, we would make it finer to decrease the space between the grounds so that the water would go through more slowly. All right, shot number 2 is locked and loaded. Let's get it going. All right, so the first drip came out at around 5 seconds, and boom. It did 36.3 in 24 seconds, so just shy of that range I was saying, 25 to 30 seconds. So we'll actually give this a shot. It may be pretty good. As you can see, it's got lovely crema on top. We're going to pour this in. All right. Well, bon appetit down the hatch. All right, that is a lot better than earlier. But for this coffee, the acidity is a little higher than I would want. I know that sounds shocking to say acidity is high in darkly roasted coffees, but actually there's a ton of acid in darkly roasted coffee. It's just hard to perceive it. Anyway, that's something actually I'll link below, some information about that from Dr. Samo Smarke. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I want this shot to pull a little bit longer. I want a little more contact time. This is actually a little, for this style coffee, I want it to be more caramelly, more dark chocolate. This has a little bit of an acidity that I'm not really liking with this profile. So what I'm going to do is actually fine the grind a little bit to slow the flow through, and we're going to slow the flow through that puck. So like I did earlier, I went a lot coarser. I'm actually going to go back just a little bit. I just want a little bit more contact time. So maybe around 28 to 30 seconds. So I'm just going to fine it up just a smidge, Make sure it's nice and locked in. I'm going to clean everything out, and we're going to go again. Now that we're in our wheelhouse, we are 24 seconds, around 25 to 30. Now we can start playing around with taste preferences. For instance, the 25 to 30 is not dogmatic. If you hit that 24 and you like it, or you want more acidity, you can go even coarser, let it run even faster, have a 20-second shot if that tastes good to you. Rules are meant to be broken. I use the rules in order to get to that zone for a new coffee, because you want a starting point. And so my starting point, as I said, is dark is 1 to 2, medium is 1 to 2.5, light is 1 to 3. And then you play with those times, you play with the yields, you play with the ratios, but you need to get your grinder into that kind of golden zone. And then you start playing around with the different grind sizes, the different times, etc. So now I've changed my grind. We're gonna go once more. All right, and we start the clock, start the shot. Let's see where this drops at. All right, so that dropped at 6. Last time it was about 4 or 5 seconds. All right, and boom. So that took about 33 seconds. So we overshot it just a bit, not a big deal. We're gonna take a sip and we'll see what we wanna do with it. All right, so we're gonna take that, toss it in our little drinking cup, take a sip, see what we wanna do. All right, that's much more where I want it, but I feel like I've sacrificed a little body. So I like the contact time. I like the taste that it's giving me, but I think it's running a little bit too much. It's giving a little bit of dryiness at the end, a drying finish. And so essentially what that means is we're pushing it a little too far. So we're pushing the extraction a little too far. So we're gonna back up a bit. So there's different variables of extraction you can control, which include the ratio. So if you want less extraction, you want more acidity to pop, or you want more body, you can lower the ratio. A lower ratio will always give you more body. Okay, but it can also give you less extraction. But right now, I think the extraction is actually maybe a little over, but the contact time is nice. So what I'm gonna do is I'll keep all variables the same. I'm gonna keep the grind size the same. I'm gonna keep everything the same, but I'm going to lessen the output. So that will also lessen the time a bit, but I'm going to bring the 36 down to about 32 and try that. That should take away the drying finish, and it should give me a little thicker body, a little heavier body. So essentially, when we're doing these little minor tweaks, we need to understand how what we're doing affects the final cup. Okay, if we just let it pull longer, it's going to continue to get more drying, a thinner body. If we let it pull shorter, a thicker body, a little bit less extraction, so maybe more on the sour side, salty side. But I think where we're hitting it right now, I think it's enough over extracted that if we back up just a bit, we do a little bit smaller ratio, it should even everything out just fine. So let's do that. Same grind size, everything. We're just going to stop it at 32 grams and we'll see how that tastes. Let's do it. All right, ready? All right, so I'll stop it at 32. We're getting close. All right, so in 30 seconds, we got right at 32 grams. So 32 gram espresso shot. It's about 1.5 ounces, which is a pretty typical ristretto shot. So we're going to take a sip of this, and hopefully this is going to find that I'll find here this more full-bodied, more sweetness, a little less of that drying finish. We're going to see how this tastes. Certainly has a thick head of crema, so should have a really nice luscious body to it. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's actually quite nice. And you know I'm telling the truth because I didn't grimace immediately. I'm bad at hiding my face. This is actually a drinkable darker roasted coffee. That's why I decided once Hugo threw me this awful smelling coffee that I'd go and give it a shot. Pun intended. And it's turned out pretty nice. This has like, yeah, it's got like, it has the kind of that sort of tobacco-y smoky bit to it. But there's some nice, actually there's a little bit like orange zest in it that's kind of shocking. But you have, mostly it's that dark chocolate finish. You have some caramel. You have, it's obviously marked by that bitterness, but it has a very, very, very nice body to it, which is not something I'm used to because I drink really lightly roasted coffees and I sacrifice body for that clarity and the complexity. But this is a nice change of pace. It's nice. It's really nice. For those of my watchers, viewers that only do lights, give darks tries every now and then. It's not bad. I would like to repull this after removing Quakers and whatnot to really clean the cup up, but I would consider this dialed in for this coffee. I think it's pretty nice. Now, of course, we could always mess with the weight. We can mess with the dose. We can mess with the grind size. We can do a lot of different things and pull this shot in a lot of different ways. But as far as the kind of a basic dialing in, this is the process that I follow. I start at that 1 to 2 for a dark coffee, and at the end, we ended up below a 1 to 2 because I find that's where it tasted best. Maybe with a light coffee, I'd be up at 1 to 4, who knows? But just know, these are guidelines. Break rules. You can go the distance, okay? You can do this. It's not a big deal. You can, listen, all I'm trying to say is, I am on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong. I know every mile will be worth my while. I can go most anywhere to feel like I belong. In espresso and drinking coffee. So learn that lesson today. Go forth in your life. Go the distance. Tweak your parameters and have fun doing it. That's most important. And also, just to quickly answer your question, when you're timing your shot, it's when you hit the button, unless you're doing some sort of flow profiling. So I get that question a lot. I was just going to answer it right now because there's no need to do a whole video for that. So if you're wondering when to time your shot, it's when to hit your button, unless you're doing some weird kind of flow profiling thing, in which case you shouldn't be asking that question to begin with. So if you have a machine like a Gaggia Classic Pro, a Breville, a DeLonghi, anything like that, and you're asking the question, it's when you touch that button. Right when you hit that button, start your timer and the race is on. Go the distance. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to finish this shot. I'm going to go about my day, and I hope that you all brew something tasty. And that is everything from me today. Please hit that like, that subscribe. I brought the energy today. Maybe that was your vibe right now. Maybe it's too early for it, but either way, I'd love to hear your comments below. And try out this method, try out this technique, do a little grit, sandpaper, listen to it, listen to the grounds, and see if that gets you in the ballpark. And remember, light, medium, dark, not super helpful, but you gotta start somewhere. Anyway, that's it for me today. I hope that you are having a fantastic day, and we'll chat soon. Cheers. Okay, cut it. Okay, cut it. Cut it!